Welcome to Rom Wills Money Matters. Pay attention to the layoffs. Pay attention. I'm going to tell you something. Back in 2001, around that time when there was a recession, one of the things I would do was look at the financial pages, and I would say, okay, who's laying off, which businesses are going out, but especially who's laying off. You want to pay attention to that because just the simple matter of a layoff says a lot of things. It tells you a lot. Like, I give you something. When you talk about the tech layoffs, that's major. Now, why are we having these tech layoffs? People not using the products as much. Like, one of the major things that the reason that is the tech industry everything tech became real big during the COVID lockdowns. People had to go online a bit more. People not doing the same now. And that's why you have a company like Amazon, they laying off people. A lot of these tech companies laying off people. And it's a simple matter, like plenty of people have argued, even in the comments, every now and then I get somebody in the comments like, oh, it's all going to be online. No. Like I've talked before about like shopping, people were making a big deal and say, oh yeah, online is the future. But one, people in general like to go out. Two, I've seen something because I have, let's just say I have support associates who can break down anything financially. Shout out the Equalizer. And he pointed out some stuff, and then I've seen some other stuff. Gen Z, they like to go out. They like to actually try on the stuff. They'll use online, but they also like brick and mortar. But on that simple thing, people ain't as getting into the tech anymore. And plus another factor with that is AI. AI can write term papers now. So a lot of times AI is doing the work that somebody else used to do, like customer service and everything. And see, when you pay attention to the layoffs, it tells you, okay, which industry isn't making the money? Who's complaining? You know, that's a very key to understand. That's very key to get. And one of the issues is we have this happening, and you have to pay attention to it because it gives you a picture of it gives you a big picture. You see the overall picture. Like I'll use the Amazon example. They're ubiquitous. I'm not advertising for them. They pretty much like back in the day when we copy something, we would say Xerox it. So they're the same thing. If they laying off, that means people aren't buying as much stuff from them. If they're not buying as much stuff, where are they buying it? Oh, brick and mortar. Because another thing you can do is if they're not getting it there, but is this a product that's needed? If it's a product that's needed, where else sells it? Like I'm always use a brick and mortar example. Because like I said, if you look at Gen Z, they tend to actually want to shop more. They want to go out more. So that's making a big difference. And see, if they laying off in a particular area, that means somebody's not shopping in that area, regardless of what generation they are. And so you want to pay attention to that on multiple levels. And even on a bigger level, not so much the buying, but there's always talk. We haven't officially been declared in a recession. But if you have multiple people being laid off, what else does that affect? Like you had, once again, let's talk about the tech industry. Tech people were making money. It's still a good business. They laying off. You just got to be in a position where they can't lay you off. Which, let me go on a tangent real quick. If you're on any job, I don't care, job especially. Because if you got your own business, you can really make it. But on your job especially, always put yourself in a position where they can't get rid of you easily. Like you're just so valuable. You need to become very valuable with your skills. One thing I recommend, if you get on a job, try to learn the other jobs around you, no matter what it is, whether you're working as a server at a restaurant or in the tech industry, anything tech. Figure out what else can you do. Because what'll happen is usually when they lay off people, they'll keep the people who might can still do that other job anyway. And of course, yeah, they working you to death and they're not really compensating you the way they should, but you can do that. But, you know, just looking at the overall picture of if you're getting people laid off, say you're getting these tech workers laid off, that could affect whatever region they're in, whatever city. Because all of a sudden, say they living in a good neighborhood. They living in a good neighborhood, maybe got good apartments, good houses, condos, whatever. They laid off. If they can't get another job, they might have to move. If they have to move, then the real estate industry in that area is affected. But not only them, but any retail stores, grocery stores. Say you have an area which had a lot of tech workers that were laid off. Any restaurants in that area, they're not going to get as much business. Any grocery stores, you know, people still want to get some groceries, but maybe they're not going to buy the more expensive stuff. And no car dealers in that area. Car dealers, you know, people gonna be slow. It'd be like, you know, let me just save some money and get it fixed, or find that shade tree mechanic. Because if in one area, see, one of the things, and this is one of the reasons to pay attention to layoffs, it affects something else. Even for what I'm doing, I'm always looking at stuff and like, okay, all these layoffs, how's that affecting my business? You know, how's that's affecting now? Thankfully, I don't need a big core. I don't need a very, very large core of people to support me. Because I've said it before, my solid support as far as money might be, I don't know, 300 to 500 people, men, primarily men, women too. And even who's checking out the ads on YouTube. But I can be all right for a while because there's nothing to find guys making enough money to spend on my products, especially when I don't charge that much. But think about somebody else who's more dependent on that. That could affect them too. What if they in a business, well, YouTube business that's dealing with tech or tech things, you know? And yeah, if they on YouTube, yeah, they could, you know, watch the videos for free. But what if they had a business where, you know, they had a Patreon or something? Oh, it could affect them. It could affect them in one way or the other, because in general, something happening in one part of the world because of how money flows and how we interact could affect something in someplace else. So I'm always paying attention. But say you have a restaurant or something, like a little shop, a little coffee shop. It was right next to the office where you had all these tech workers. All of a sudden they laid off. All of a sudden your pockets are going to be lighter. I want y'all to think about that. So always pay attention and try to think, okay, how can that affect your business? How can that layoffs in that area affect your business? Now, depending on where you're at, it might not at all. Okay, that's cool. But then that might be one business. What happens in another business, it goes out of business, like a factory or some manufacturing plant goes out of business. In fact, you've had some cities where the manufacturing was moved out and they became like very poor cities. So you always got to look at it. Never think that you're not touched by it. Like I said, even what I'm doing, I'm good now. Money's flowing. Made more money last year than I had in life. But I'm still paying attention. I'm just like, okay, how will those layoffs affect me? Very important. And thankfully, my main thing is doing something that people always need. People always want to have sex. So I'm good for, I'll be good, ultimately. So, but everybody else isn't in that position. So pay attention to it, pay attention. Because like I said, 2001, there was a little recession, and I said, wait a minute, all these businesses are going out. Like every day I read in the financial page and I say, okay, this is what's coming. Indeed, like even during the Great Recession, 2008, around that time, 2007, whenever it was, that around that time, even during that period, I was like, yeah, because I was even paying attention to all these people buying houses, subprime loans and everything. I was like, this could be a problem. And that's just in general. I mean, I mentioned just the layoffs today, but just in general, pay attention, all right? So anyway, y'all know the deal. Regardless of whatever's going on with layoffs, Yeah, I know y'all hustling getting that money. So let's go make that money.